Well, let's look at this article and read what's going on with the Screen Actors, and figure out what's happening and what could happen if this strike actually follows through. And it says here that Hollywood CEOs and industry insiders seek federal mediation to help avert the SAG-AFTRA strike. And it looks like things are going to be rough here. It says top Hollywood players are working on a plan to call in federal mediators to help avert a SAG-AFTRA strike with just a day to go before the contract deadline. A group of CEOs and senior executives, including Disney TV chief Dana Walden and film chief Alan Bergman, Warner Brothers David Zaslav, and Netflix's Ted Sarandos, gathered by conference call Monday evening to discuss the urgent situation with SAG-AFTRA, poised to go on strike as soon as Thursday. In addition to the executives discussing efforts to bring in a federal mediator, talent agent chieftains including Ari Emanuel of WME, Brian Lord of CAA, and UTA's Jeremy Zimmer have reached out to SAG-AFTRA leaders in recent days to offer assistance that could stave off a second Hollywood work stoppage this summer. There's a little bit more here, but let's just go ahead and put that in perspective. So one of the things that you have to understand is we've been in a situation where without the writers, as long as you had the directors, it's like you could still do some content, right? We talked about this page. You remember we went through this before, that reality TV can still happen with, talent and directors. You don't necessarily need writers for a lot of the reality TV shows. Actors, that's a different story though, because that pretty much stops anyone who is part of the Screen Actors Guild, which could even be just people on set, judges for, like, you see these like cooking shows, right? People that are there as judges on cooking shows are probably SAG-AFTRA members, or you have a celebrity come in on a panel to judge a fashion competition TV show. Those are people that are probably part of the Screen Actors Guild. That means they would literally no longer be able to use that on TV shows. Do you think that the Screen Actors Guild in general is a bigger push to get things running than it is like the Writers Guild? Do you think this is going to make a difference or no?
100%, because they can still film without the Writers Guild. They just can't add anything, And even people that are a part of the Writers Guild can still film as long as they are a director and or showrunner or producer. They can still be there,
Yeah.
So I think as I said, if the SAG people go, yo, let's go, let's join it. I mean, it's not going to be click of the fingers, like lickety split. It gets done, but there'll be a countdown that's immediately started. I'm not too sure what the whole thing is with things that are currently filming.
Well,
I'm not too sure what the loophole there is.
I'll tell you what I found out, because I did read some stuff about that. We'll talk about that here in a second. It goes, the SAG-AFTRA contract is currently set to expire at midnight PT on Wednesday, and the two sides remain at odds on a host of issues. And these are the issues that they've talked about. Streaming residuals, which we mentioned, increase in minimum rates, and artificial intelligence. There's been relatively little progress in the last few days. It has begun to look increasingly like a strike will occur. The contract was originally set to expire on June 30th, but the two sides agreed to a 12-day extension. So these are the three main things. Now, the streaming residuals are mostly about current filming, like the fact that writers are doing shorter stints on shows. You may have a one season show, maybe 6 episodes instead of 21, 22, 23 episodes. And would you agree that the days of that type of show is pretty much gone? Would you agree that we're not really going to see shows that go on for 23 episodes? That's kind of it, right? That's over.
It's pretty much over unless you get like a network show, but even then they're going down into like the teens and stuff like that, like at most. So
I mean, Superman and Lois is going down to 10 episodes, and that's going to be basically a network TV show. So minimum rates, which is basically they want to be paid fairly for their work versus so when you were doing 23 episodes, obviously you're going to make more money than you are when you're doing 10 episodes. However, the lock-in dates, they were talked about this, like you get locked into like several months worth of time where you can only work on that one project, right? And that's the issue, is when they're locked into one project, it's only 6 episodes, and you're writing for your writer's room are smaller, so you have less writers, which means everybody's doing more work. You're doing more work. You're locked in for the same amount of time you would have been for like 23 episodes, but you're only getting paid for like 6 to 10 episodes of TV. So the rates need to be adjusted for that. And Paige, you were saying you don't know if that money's going to be available for them, right? You're saying like subscription models and things like that. I mean, can you see any way this could be negotiated where maybe some of that money gets pumped back into the actors and the writers? or no?
Yeah, but well, I guess there could be, but it also depends on like what does that mean for the general consumer, like you, me, J
Oh,
King, Heroes
we'll pay
Journey, whatever
more.
it
We'll
is.
pay more.
We'll
We're
pay
gonna,
more.
yeah.
And the thing is let's be honest, everyone's fucking selfish. No one's gonna pay. No one's gonna pay five. It's like really, well, fuck. I have to pay $5 more for my Netflix, $5 more for my Disney
I mean,
Plus. Fuck that.
look, around
That's what
here,
everyone will be like.
some businesses, and this is not related to this, but let me just show you how the consumer ends up paying. A lot of businesses like that do like, you know, wait staff stuff here in this country, which by the way, tipping is a thing here. I don't know if it is for everybody else in the rest of the world, but here in the United States, tipping is a culture. It's a thing that we do. And, you know, some people don't agree with it. Some people prefer it. Like I know a lot of people that are in the wait staff bartending business that like the tips because they can walk out of there with a bunch of money. But then if you work at a place that's not busy, you get paid nothing basically. But they've been tacking on like insurance to tabs for dinner. So when you go out and you have dinner, you may see like a $3, $4 additional fee on top of your dinner fee to pay insurance for the staff because the people that run these businesses don't even want to pay insurance for their staff. So corporations, CEOs, board of directors, they don't want to take a hit on money anywhere. They never do. It always gets passed down to the consumer. Always. It's not consumer friendly. And I think this is the last part we're going to read here. The SAG-AFTRA strike would immediately shut down whatever film and TV production has not already been halted by the Writers Guild of America strike, which has been underway for more than 2 months. The impact would be especially significant overseas, and this is what I wanted to talk about before we wrap up this conversation, where AMPTP companies have been able to continue to shoot some shows without the involvement of WGA writer-producers. Now, let me explain that. I had to look this up. Apparently, there are places outside of the United States where writers and people involved with it are not part of the Hollywood, you know, the guilds in Hollywood. So they were able to make that content overseas without being impacted by a writer strike or a director strike. Because if they didn't have someone on set that was part of those guilds, they didn't have to stop filming, which is something that we'll discuss how this is going to affect streaming here in a second. But so the thing there was they were able to circumvent that. But there are so many actors. I think they said up there above is like 160,000 members in this guild, right? Who work all around the world. There's almost no production in the world that's doing like anything big movie wise or whatever that does not have someone from the Screen Actors Guild involved in it. Meaning if that person goes over there, say for example, they're shooting a movie in another country and they go over there to work, they got to check. They got $10 million to show up and do that work, right? They've already been paid for that work. That means that production would literally lose people that could be key members of what they're doing that just has to leave and go home. They got their 10 million, they're out the door, and you're sitting there going, what can we do? We can't do anything now. They would have to immediately shut down. This would be a massive impact to this. And you know who would benefit from this kind of shutdown the most? Places like Netflix and Hulu and these subsidiary streaming services, because what they would do is the same thing they did during COVID. They would buy overseas TV shows and properties that are not licensed in the United States. They would market them on their streaming services, while like services like Paramount, Peacock, all these other services, HBO, well, Max, I guess, or whatever, where they have a lot of in-house things that they would have to stop making. And then Netflix would see another increase in viewership because they don't care about this, because the production stuff that they make, a lot of it's international, and they probably already filmed most of that already to come out on their service. So Netflix would benefit from this. Streamers would benefit from this if they're not making their own content, if it's coming from other places. So this is massive. If anything is going to make a deal happen, it's going to be this strike. This will be the one out of the three of them, out of the writers, directors, and Screen Actors Guild. What do you think, like, before we wrap this up, final thoughts on this? Do you think this is going to be something that's going to go on for a really long time? I don't think they're going to reach an agreement before shutdown, but the question is, how long will the shutdown be? What do you think?
I don't know. Like, I know that there's the thing where, like, the studios and the actors apparently agreed for a mediator, but, like, I don't know. I don't know if the actors will strike come like tomorrow or anything like that, but I think like, I mean, but then again, the whole Writers Guild as well was sort of building up like that, and like they couldn't mediate or anything like that. Yeah, and it blew up, and now the strike's been going on for God knows how long already. So
I think they said that this writer strike or the writer strike has been over 50 days now. I think it was like 50 days since it started.
The other one was 110.
Yeah.
And like, but the thing is I think that other writer strike that was like, I think by this point there was like light at the end of the tunnel. It just took that extra, like they actually had to like, well, they saw what the outcome would be.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope this isn't going for a long time. I think the Writers Guild should latch on to the Screen Actors Guild because Fran Drescher was apparently on vacation while all this is happening. So maybe they need some new leadership at the top. I don't know. But this isn't good for consumers. No matter what happens, just know that the people at the top of these companies will not suffer. It's going to be the actors, it's going to be the writers, and it's going to be us. That's the people that's going to suffer from this.